Hey, hi Polynesian community. Thank you for joining me for anyone who's on live. It's been a while. I know it's actually been a couple months, but I am excited. I know we are on a different day. Usually we're on a Thursday, but because of schedules today, it had to be on a Wednesday. So I want to make sure that we are streaming live. I'm actually using a different platform right now, so I'm really not too familiar with it yet. So if you don't mind, let me just check real quick. And I don't know if you're able to check to see if we're on live. Hopefully we are. I do have the page connected, so let me just double check really quick, okay?
Hmm.
Um, all right. And so I'll check in a minute. So if anyone's on, I do welcome you. Usually, I will have anyone who's on live hashtag live, and then if you catch us on a replay, please hashtag replay. It just helps to see who's here, and if you have any comments or if you have any questions, hopefully we can catch it while we're on. But I will let our guest of the hour introduce himself, and we'll go from there with this interview.
Sure. Thank you. Says Talafalava, Malo late. Um, I'm Deutsch
Yeah.
Puu, former retired MMA fighter. Uh, I'm also a Jiu-Jitsu black belt and Kaju Kempo black belt as well. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and I'm sure in our podcast. But yeah, that's just a
Yeah.
little intro about myself.
Yeah, so I know you had like a mixture of names, and I didn't really know which one I should use, but you did tell me that you have a middle name that came from that's a German background, right?
So my first name is German. It's my
Okay.
first name,
How do you
and
say all of
it's
your name?
Deutsch. Deutsch. So the first name when you see it says Malaetasi, that's my Samoan chief name. So it's Malaetasi Deutsch Nuuelua Puu.
Nice. That's very interesting. So, were you raised in Germany or how did that come up?
Yeah, so I was born in Germany in 1977, but I was a bad kid growing up. My father was in the military. Um, I don't know if you're ready for this story, but I ended up being a bad kid. I got sent to Samoa. Grew up with my grandmother. So I didn't speak a lick of Samoan at the time, and my grandmother didn't speak no English whatsoever, or I couldn't remember at the time. So yeah, that's how I ended up picking up, the Fa Samoa pretty quickly because I didn't have a choice. Well, yeah,
Okay.
I was born in Germany and raised in Samoa.
Born in Germany, raised in Samoa. Okay, and how old were you when you came back to the States?
It wasn't until high school I joined the United States Army. Uh,
Really?
yeah, so right out of high school, I came into the United States Army. Uh, I deployed a total of 9 times while I was in the military. Retired from that. Got injured in Iraq as well. So and then I continued a career with fighting. Like I was fighting while I was in the army. I was fighting while I was a kid, boxing. So I
Oh,
just
okay.
continued that through. And then like by the time I got into the army, I was already a pretty high ranked fighter coming into America. But in America, it's like you're a nobody. So I had to box my way up to get some type of recognition, and I finally did. And I was Hawaii State champ back, in the days, and I was the All Army boxing champ as well. In the past, uh, the first Polynesian uh, uh, to make it to the Army World Class Athlete Project. So
Nice.
yeah.
Congratulations. So is it like you do boxing or what other is it you do martial arts too? Oh, you
So
said
the
you're
funny
boxing.
thing, yeah, the funny thing about me is I grew up in boxing. I grew up in boxing. I started competing at the age of 4, back in American Samoa, uh, and I just grew up in boxing. I came up in boxing, and then this crazy martial arts called jujitsu, started rearing its head, and I got interested in it. I was ranked in the top 5 in the United States in boxing, amateur. So I said, you know what, I want to try this out too. Like, what happens if I get put on the ground? Like, I don't have a clue. But at the same time, that jujitsu was coming out, MMA was rearing its head back in the early '90s. So I would say, one of those guys that came in from boxing into MMA and then jailed pretty nicely, I would say, because I stayed in jujitsu and learned how to, fight on the ground. So yeah, that's where we're at today.
Wow, that's awesome. So you pretty much have been fighting your whole life, huh?
Yeah. So like I said, I grew up in American Samoa. I I'm a small kid. I'm not that big as in stature, even though I did fight heavyweight and super heavyweight back in the days. I think I almost got up to 400 pounds, as heavy as 380, yeah, close to 400. And I was still fighting. I was still dealing with some injuries, both mentally and physically, but more so the mental side. And I feel like I continue to put my foot on the gas and just continue to move forward and move throughout all the negativity and just continue to be positive. Today, um, I raised my son. My wife and I raised our son, and he's disabled. For a while there, it was just me and my kids, my son and my daughter, uh, until my current wife moved in, and we found each other, and she takes very good care of my son, and I mean she takes very good care of my son to where it opens me up to allow me to go be an entrepreneur again. Like, I always was an entrepreneur. When I retired from the army, I moved back home to Samoa and opened MMA gyms, and was the first promoter to ever promote fights in American Samoa. At the
Wow.
time, what I was really trying to do was get into the kingdom and get into the neighboring islands, because there are plenty of us Polynesians. I'm one of the first American Samoans to come straight from American Samoa and make a sudden impact in the fight life. Not nowhere near as big as, like, the big Polynesian heroes out there, like the Samson Pohas, the all the big Polynesian fighters that came before me, and I was able to catch them right before they were retiring, and then I ended up retiring after that. And then so now we have a lot of Polynesians that are coming up in the game
Right.
because our people are good at fighting.
Mhm.
We are a warrior
Yeah.
people
Yeah. We are
through and
natural
through,
warriors.
and I'm
Yeah.
talking about Polynesia as a whole, you
Right.
know. um, but there's a lot of Tokousos who are coming up in the game, and I want to help them out, by teaching them jujitsu now and moving to Samoa in another year and a half. That's one of the things I want to start. There's a lot of Polynesian, Samoan, Tongan in these communities, but we need to band together and make it happen. So one of the biggest things I want to do is, in another year and a half, is move back home to Samoa, so that then um, we as black belts in our respective martial arts can start having these types of federations that will control uh, these martial arts in the island, so that we can continue to have these types of martial arts no matter what. If I'm not mistaken, I believe I'm one of the very first to grow up in American Samoa and become a jiu-jitsu black belt. So I feel like the onus is on me
Right.
to, you know, I'm retired from the army. I'm retired from fighting. I went back to work just to make some money to go home and move my
Right.
family home, and start all this good stuff going on for the communities and for the Pacific. You know, I think if we come together as Pacific Islanders, and I'm one of the big, I'm one of the guys that pushes Toko Uso big. You
Right.
know what I mean? My fight shorts, I used to have Toko Uso, hashtag Toko Uso on it, because I
Nice.
believe in it. Because I grew up in the islands. It's not like that. My friends in the islands were Tongan. My best friends were Tongan. So like, why is there so much beef in between
Right, right. I
Polynesians here?
agree.
You guys irritate me here in America. I want to go back to the islands because you guys don't know how to act. Like
Right. Yeah.
Samoan, Tongans, I'm calling every last one of y'all out.
Yeah.
Polynesians.
Yeah.
We need to
It's
stop.
true. It's true.
If you
You're
look
up.
back at the history of Tonga and Samoa, Sile, we are intertwined. There's
Yeah.
places in Tonga named after Samoa. There's and vice versa.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
there's Tongan in your blood, believe it or not.
Right.
There's also
Yeah.
Samoan in your blood, believe it or
Mhm.
not.
Hey, guess
And
what?
yet we're still here arguing about it.
Let me tell you something that's true about that statement. Not until I took a DNA or it was one of those DNA places, right? That I found out that I was half Samoan. But growing up, I thought I was full Tongan, like
There's
straight up.
plenty,
Yeah. So
plenty.
it's like, I mean, it's all of us, right? It's in our blood. So that was
It's
interesting
crazy
because
because it's like that across Polynesia, not just in Tonga and Samoa. It's like
right.
that across Polynesia. We're all the same people. If we
Yeah.
can band together and create our own things, well, I look at this. This is the international federation, or yeah, and federation that is in charge of jiu-jitsu is called Internet IBJJF, International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation. What I want to create is a probably like a Polynesian federation that
Yeah.
answers to IBJJF. Therefore, what does it do? It makes us legitimate.
Right.
So everybody that teaches and trains in the islands and claims themselves as a black belt, they have to answer to the Jiu-Jitsu Federation.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. Well,
so
that's great. I commend you, and I'm so glad that you accepted my invitation just to have you on because, you know, this group that I created is just about our people and trying to come together so we can push our movement forward, you know? Like, and I always say this every interview, it is our time. There is no time like now. We are now worldwide, right? We're mainstream. People know, Samoans and Tongans now, especially in the football arena, and then now in wrestling, and you have the boxing arena, and there's a lot more fighters, and we do need some kind of federation for us, just like I believe we should have our own football team. I mean, we just need to keep on pursuing those things that's going to move our community forward, right? Because honestly, I feel like all these other cultures in the world have unity, right? But we are like the last, or, down at the bottom somewhere where we don't have enough unity, you know? Like, we really need to come together and hopefully in time that will happen. And having guests like you and other small business owners and entrepreneurs share what they do, is a really informative for our people and insightful, right? Because where else are they going to go to get information, and they can reach out to you. And I'd like to have, people on to so they can reach out to whoever they need to, you know, like we had Donga, what's her name? The wrestler,
Lady
Tapa.
Tapa,
Yeah, Lady Tapa on. And so, she's a great example for young Polynesian women who want to be in that arena. Get a hold of her, and she's more than happy to help. And then we have you in, broadcasting what you do. And so hopefully that can kind of help, just kind of with our movement. Um, how do you think martial arts has impacted your life, like physically and mentally?
um, I mentioned earlier. I'm not sure if it was in the interview, but I was a little knucklehead growing up.
Right.
I shoplifted from a Korean store right around the corner from my house. The Korean man caught me, took me to my dad, and my dad commenced, to taking care of business and whooping my behind. Uh, so he took me back to the Korean man. He said he works for you now. He comes here after school every day, and he doesn't come back to the house until after he's done. Well, that started happening, and then I found out this man is like a taekwondo expert, so it piqued my interest. I was like, I want to get into it. I want to try it. But he still wasn't trying to teach me. So my whole life, I just wanted to get taught by this guy. Like I just wanted to learn martial arts. And then, I don't know about you, but I'm, close to 50. So at that time, it was the Bruce Lee era. So, it's Chuck Norris, Bruce Lee era. So I was like, man, I want to be cool like those guys. Like they're untouchable. And at the time, I was a very small kid. Like I said, I'm a small human being, period, now. But then I was 300 plus. I'm not barely 200 now. So I was a little guy that got picked on a lot, and I just wouldn't take it. I said, hey, you know what? No, not today. So I decided to fight back, and I got really good at it. And yeah, here I am now.
Nice. Well, I'm not too far behind you, okay, in age.
Okay.
So I know exactly what you're talking about. Well, and what do you think as far as like something memorable that you can remember in your fighting career? Maybe a highlight, maybe one of your best fights.
Fight wise, I think as athletes, when we get to compete against our heroes and beat them, it's like wow. It's like that first time you ever beat your dad one on one in basketball. Like I did I just cross over my dad? Like yeah, I crossed over dad. Like don't let your knees buckle. It was like that. Like and when I fought this guy again, I'm a Polynesian fighter, but even more so than a fighter, I'm a Polynesian athlete fan. I would say most Polynesians I know are like that. We're fans of Polynesian kids. Like
Yeah,
we identify, like, man, I come from the same islands. Yeah, run it. Let's go. You
yeah,
know?
absolutely,
But
absolutely.
the fight that I would say really, really meant that very much to me was it had to have been the fight against a future Polynesian MMA Hall of Famer. And that's somebody that I place highly because when I came into the heavyweight division in MMA, it was in Hawaii, and he was every heavyweight in Hawaii's hero, regardless of if they are willing to say yes or not. I'm telling you, he was my hero because I was like, man, my Uso just made it to the UFC. You know what I mean? And he
Right.
is from Hawaii, where I was currently stationed at the time. And then I had a chance and opportunity to fight this gentleman. He fought for the UFC World Championship. I was like, man, if I live against this guy, you know what I mean? I'm gonna poster it, take this picture and make a poster out of it. And I ended up knocking him out in the first round. His name was Cabbage Wesley Carrera. He's a really cool Hawaiian Ryan Uso, and he's always been cool to me. And but beating Cabbage was like that career is like that was like the part of my career where I was like, I just did that. That was unbelievable. I've had bigger fights than that, but like to beat your own hero, like it
That's
wasn't the greatest feeling, but it was like an uneasy feeling, but it was like, man, I just did that.
yeah,
That is Cabbage, dude. Like
right.
that just happened.
That's
You know,
unreal. Yeah, I
I
can't.
retired
I
after
can't.
that fight because it
Did
was the
you?
same week my mother passed away. So my mother
Wow.
passed away on that. I think it was a Monday or a Tuesday, and then I fought Saturday. I was going to cancel the fight because I was scheduled to fight another guy for a title fight, and I ended up canceling it. But then there was a guy supposedly fighting Cabbage that canceled, so I was like, I'll go fight for that title instead, or fight against Cabbage instead of the belt. And yeah, after I agreed to fight. not knowing that my mother had passed away, and then I found out the news. My mom. It was fight week. It was a week of the fight. I just want to relax and go get this over with already, and I found out that my mom passed away, and like that was my last fight, so I dedicated it to my mom. She was never a fan of MMA. She was always a fan of boxing, and she always said to me, "Get it? I don't want you." She used to say it in Samoa. "Oh, ulu," meaning I don't want your head to get punched anymore. You're getting older, son. So I said to my mom, I was like, "You're right. I think I'm going to retire
Yeah.
after this fight, mom. I'll consider retiring." That was the last words I said to my mom. She said,
Oh,
"Yeah, you should rest your brain and let just rest. Take a break.
yeah.
You've
Yeah.
had enough. You ain't got
Yeah.
nothing to prove." But yeah,
Definitely. Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
the fight that
Definitely.
meant the most to me. Definitely. Sorry.
No, no, that's fine. Thank you for sharing that. That has to be so memorable for you. Um, so once you hung up that belt, did you continue with boxing or what did you do after that?
Well, I continued with yes, with not competing in boxing anymore. But I continued with kickboxing. And then I retired after two fights. I was like, nah, you know what? I meant what I said. You know what I mean? The two kickboxing fights was, I mean, the retirement was me retiring from MMA, but I wasn't retiring from boxing or kickboxing. So I took my last two fights and I said, you know what? I'm cool. I was
Right,
preparing for the WBC Muay Thai, you know, World Championships at the time, but it's okay. I I retired because I felt like I was way too old. Like, let me honor my mom saying like, let me relax and go teach kids. So I got into training after that, and that's how I got back into jiu-jitsu and training. And I managed to go from white belt to black belt in less than 5 years, which is pretty cool. Like the average
nice.
is about 10 years, to get
Really?
a jiu-jitsu black belt from
Wow,
white.
I didn't know it took that long. So what are you doing now? Are you training? Are you
So since recently, I found out some information. My family really needs me back home. Like I mentioned earlier,
right?
I'm also a chief in my family, so there's a lot of business that needs me, that it requires me there
Right,
tending to it. Um, so, like I said, when I initially retired, I moved back home and I started my businesses and opened the gyms then. But this time it's different. When I initially went, it was all nonprofit. It was all nonprofit. All the training was free. The training, is great for any sport, and that's the thing I love about jiu-jitsu because one of the best things of jiu-jitsu is it teaches you how to use your center of gravity. And that's one of the things that we use a lot in just about every sport around. No matter where you go, whatever sport, you have to have a good control over your center of gravity. And it's one of the things. One of the hardest parts of teaching center of gravity is understanding how the body flows. Well, one of the easiest ways to teach it is with another body, and that's wrestling back and forth and learning how to manipulate each other to drop each other down, or to manipulate a body part and stop somebody from fighting me or injuring me, or whatnot.
right, right.
Yeah.
I don't want to skip out on our comments here in the chat. Let me just go through it real quick. I don't know if you could see it on your end, but
Yeah.
we have Fred Ludo. My brother, thank you for your service, my Uso. We have
Hey.
Joanne, Saul, well, hey, brother. Dave, Tui
Yeah.
Palasa. And then Mauso, I see you. Yes, sir, I
Calvin.
see you, bro. Yes, sir. Yeah, so just want to recognize everyone who's on. Thank you for showing love to your boy. It's nice to have him on, just sharing about his background with, the army, martial arts, where you came from. and what you're trying to do. So tell us a little bit about what exactly your future plans are by moving back to American Samoa.
Yeah, definitely the push for me to go to Samoa now. Like I said, I have about another year and a half left here in Vegas, and then when I move back home, I plan on setting up, certain things to control the sports, so that for the same reasons that IBJJF is in existence, is why I want to create this in the other parts of the Pacific Islands that don't have this. Like there's a lot of jiu-jitsu black belts in Hawaii. There's plenty in Guam. I know them personally, some of them. Um, I don't know if I know there's plenty of Samoan jiu-jitsu black belts. There's plenty of Tongan jiu-jitsu black belts. Hey, let's give back. Toko Uso, I'm asking you, let's give back. Come support, as especially as jiu-jitsu black belts. I want to reach out to any Tokouso that's out there that is a jiu-jitsu black belt that hasn't gotten a hold of me. I'm planning on moving to Samoa so that I can start our version of IBJJF that will be governed under IBJJF, just so that we can have legitimacy in those parts of the Pacific that are not being touched uh, by IBJJF. I don't know. Maybe we don't need to make a Pacific Island thing. Maybe we just need to connect with IBJJF. Period. But either way,
Right,
I need the help of people who know what they're doing. Uh, like I said, when I moved to Samoa, I do not plan on moving again. I only moved away from Samoa after retirement because of my son. He got
right,
sick, and I needed to seek better help. And now we're here. My son's 14 now. I feel like he's in a better place health wise, concerning his health. But even he's stronger now to where if there are any medical emergencies, obviously we have hospitals in American Samoa. But if there's something very serious, New Zealand and Western Samoa aren't too far off. And
right.
even Hawaii are not too far off.
Yeah,
If I need to, if it's that much of an emergency, the biggest thing my son got going on is shots, and that's for his condition. Well, we can easily fly from Hawaii to Samoa until I figure out a way for it to be provided in that deeper South Pacific where we're from, Tonga, Fiji, Samoa. We if anything, that's what I want to do. Like I'm providing stuff that is available out here in America. I'm trying to provide it for us in the middle of nowhere where
right.
nobody really cares about. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
Only us. These politicians don't care, so let's look out for our own people.
right. Absolutely. Yeah. Nobody cares about us more than we do. And, that's facts. What about if anyone was interested in, in beginning or interested in martial arts? Is there something that you suggest or any tips that you can advise for beginners?
Um, I get this question a lot, mostly from my siblings asking what martial arts should I put my son in.
Right.
It depends. If you just want them to be disciplined kids, I recommend a striking martial art or jujitsu, which is a grappling martial art. Jujitsu is great for the kids. I've seen kids just come in and soak it up like sponges. They just pick it up. There's kids when he was a kid. Let me tell you a story. This kid is a black belt now, but when this kid was a kid, I'm talking about in his teens. This kid used to skull drug me across the gym back and forth, and he was the son of the man that taught me how to be a black belt and taught me jujitsu. And now his name is Professor Izzy now. But yeah, that's my nephew. My nephew in jujitsu, and now he's a he's a black belt in
Nice.
jujitsu, and he's only still in his young 20s. But
Wow.
there's a lot of kids nowadays. I know of Samoan kids, I know of Tongan kids. Their parents write me and they ask me all the time, and they're now starting jujitsu and they love it. Um, and I love that I see my people starting in this art. Moving back to Samoa, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to provide jujitsu for my people. And then I have to start somewhere.
Right.
Then we start in Samoa, and then we start building up, and we start looking at the rest of the Pacific. What about the
Yeah.
islands? I can train, I can move, or in between the islands and teach seminars just to get our people up. You know,
Absolutely.
what's up,
you're getting,
Trevor?
yeah,
Here's
you're
one of
getting
my
a lot of
students.
love.
Alabasa Jesus, Mauso June, Jesus. Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
new to this technology stuff, but
Yeah, yeah. And this, like I said, this platform is a new platform for me, so I'm trying to get used to all the features too. My other platform was a bust. They stopped streaming in my group, so it's all good. That's awesome. I'm super excited for you. I know that you are headed in the right direction to do big things for our people. Um, and that's definitely something to be proud of. And I hope, you know, for anyone who's out there that is interested or that can provide any kind of service or want to join Deutsch D, get his, whatever advent or ventures, business ventures he has, to reach out to him, because we do need to come together. We are one people. It's not, we're not separated. We're separated by some water, but that's it. As far as everything else, we're still the same. So I definitely feel you on that. And I don't want to keep you too long. Uh, is there any other words or advice that you'd like to share with our community?
um,
Um, any anything?
of course. Uh, to my people, there are a lot of avenues. If you're looking into possibly opening a business,
Right,
there's a plethora of things that you can research to help you now. The government is willing to help minorities. You just have to be willing to look for the programs. And if you don't, you can use me as a cheat sheet. You can inbox me and ask me specifically. Um, Whatever I can do to help, I'm there for you. But be wise. We're Polynesians in America and in other parts of the world, but believe it or not, those places that we live in now have all kinds of programs available to you so that you can start your own businesses. We're not the first generation Polynesians in America no more. We're
right,
the we're the generation that can. We can make it happen now. We're the generation that understood what our forefathers went through just to make our little
yeah,
impression in America.
yeah,
you
just to
know?
get us here.
So
Yeah,
now that we're here, we see the struggles, especially that the black folk have. Like, man, they have a lot of the same struggles. You know what I mean? Um, so we learn. We don't sit there and just, oh, it sucks. Yeah, I
yeah,
get it. It sucks, but let's learn. What
right,
lesson can I take away from this? Like, how can I learn? Especially like I said, we're the generation of Polynesians in America that's going to be making all this happen. You
right,
know what I mean? And if we
yeah,
start doing it now, that's why my whole plan is to move back home, because my family is back home, and I want to teach my family how to be
right.
successful in life through
Mhm.
businesses and the ventures that we do, and not just, oh, I just want to wake up and there's nothing else for me to do. Well, I have plans on what I want to do in American Samoa when I get to American Samoa. I don't need to be a politician. Nobody needs to be a politician. You just need to know how to read and understand. A little
Yeah,
bit of reading comprehension goes a very long way.
yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. Um, we're definitely on the same wavelength with that. I do believe that, it does start with us. We're not the first generation. I mean, my parents came out here and had us, you know, and I look back at their struggle and I just feel like they didn't come out here for nothing, you know? we need to make it happen and just keep pursuing our dreams no matter how old we get. I mean, it's never too late, you know? It's like I don't even know how many businesses I've tried and failed and like I'm still trying, right? Like I just feel like I don't have time to give up. I don't have time to just sit and watch movies all day. Like I don't have time for that. Um, like I'm currently still studying law just because we need to know the law, believe it or not. Like it's crazy what information is out there that we have no clue about, right? We're just not. We're just clueless.
Yep.
So
Knowledge
like
is power.
yes, absolutely. I mean, I just I just can't wait till I put all that knowledge to use. Once I get all of that knowledge and put it to use, I'm going to be unstoppable. Like, you know what I mean? So
Exactly.
I just encourage like everyone, hopefully they're uplifted and motivated by this because life is too short. We only have this one time. You know what I mean? And
Amen.
so we got to make it count. Um, but anyways, it was such a pleasure to have you on Deutsch. Born in Germany, American Samoa. You've come a long way. I super love your story and just your motivation to keep going, because there is a lot of work to do. There's a lot of work to do, you
There's
know?
money to be made, and we're not researching enough.
Right, right. You're absolutely right. And so, yeah, I feel you on that. Definitely, because I feel like the world is so full of distractions, so full of things that occupy our mind when we need to come back to the real focus. We need to come back to the center and just figure out the plan. And yeah, so I totally get it. Um,
I appreciate you having me on today. Thank you.
oh, you're so
And
welcome.
all my students,
Yes, they're
say what's
all
up, my Uso, say what's up.
yeah, they're all here supporting you. Hopefully, this streams in our group. If not, I'll have to save the link and post it on there so I know they'll be interested in watching you as well. Um, but thank you again. Many blessings to you and your future endeavors. Let's keep in touch. I keep in touch with all of my um, people who come on and interview just so we can network and just connect each other with our community, you know?
Amen.
So whoever's looking towards this field, please hit him up. Hit up Deutsch, Douche, and he will definitely point you in the right direction. Like I said, if you guys caught this live, hashtag live. If you caught this on a replay, please hashtag replay. I appreciate you guys. God bless, and you guys have a good night. We will see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you, sis.
All right, you're welcome. Bye.
Fast foot.